Welcome to MarketProof. This is Dan Francis. I am the CEO and co-owner of StepStone Realty. We're a real estate brokerage, just like any other real estate brokerage, except that we specialize in sponsoring real estate investors who have their license. An investor agent, just my good friend Christopher Gibbins here. Chris has been with us for, I don't know how long.
Too many years.
Yeah, too many years now, but does a ton of wholesaling. And that's one of the great things I love about StepStone and our investors is that they do so many different things because you can do so many different things in real estate, which makes it fun and exciting. Welcome, Chris. Thank you for coming. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, and then we'll get to the topics.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Dan. I appreciate you having me. So, my name is Chris Gibbins. I run a little wholesale company called Oak REI. So I am an investor agent, if that's what you want to call me. I know some people, they think of wholesaling not like investing, but we'll get into that at different time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've actually been in the business now since 2015 is when I got into it. And really, I've focused in on wholesale. And it's just because it's such an intriguing concept, being able to find value in an asset and just linking people, not necessarily doing the work myself. And I know, I could probably, don't get me wrong, I could probably make a lot more money if I actually went in, tore in the bones, and made these places prettier or have good cash flow. But I don't know. For me, I don't like looking at houses if I don't have to. I don't like having to travel out to places if I don't have to. Heck, I don't have meeting some of these people if I don't have to. I don't have to tell you that some of these homeowners, if you go to their houses, it's a little scary.
See, it's funny because that is what I like to do.
Yeah. See, and everyone's different, right?
They
right.
are.
Yeah,
I think that's really key is you got to find how to do this business the way you like it. You say you could make more money in flipping. Not if you don't like it. You're going to make more money in wholesaling if that's what you like to do, for sure. I think that's a good point. But yeah, I always say that meeting of sellers it's the Forrest Gump game because it's like a box of chocolates. You knock on that door, you have no idea what you're about to get.
No idea what you're going to get.
Just fun and exciting to me.
Oh, man. Yeah, and I've been into, don't get me wrong, it's not like I haven't. I've been out to a lot of sketchy homes. I've been to a lot of great homes. It just is what it is. But yeah, no, I just really gravitated towards wholesale, and I really enjoy it. I actually started off with another wholesale company and went off from there to start acquiring properties for a hedge fund. I was working for another company, and we were just buying a ton of assets for a hedge fund. And if you've ever worked with hedge funds before, they buy at ridiculous numbers. As an investor, like ridiculously high. Yeah. They're like losing money when they buy, essentially. So I'm not going to complain about that. I'm not going to tell them, don't do this. Don't buy this house at 99% of ARV. I'm going to just sell them the property. But at that time, I was actually helping them as an agent. So I was actually representing them as a realtor, getting my But since I had a wholesaling background, it was easier for me to negotiate those deals because for me, I can negotiate at 50, 60%. So when I'm getting an offer at 98%, it's a lot easier to get those deals under contract.
Oh, yeah.
But again, I kept seeing these deals come through, and I get deals from other wholesalers, and I get deals from other agents, and I'm like, man, I can easily get this thing for $20,000 cheaper. I know I can get this thing for $20,000 cheaper. So I actually separated from them, and I just started to acquire the deals myself and assign them back over to the same hedge fund. And I did that for a couple of years, actually. And it's a lot of fun. But even with that, I was still doing the normal wholesale business. So I started dabbling more into my marketing and trying to perfect that a little bit better. And I just run my shop, just so you know, I'm not some big operation. I'm not like these big names you see all over everywhere. It's just me and a VA in the Philippines. So we don't run a big operation. And honestly, I don't care for that either. One thing I like about wholesale is you don't have to have the flashiness that they try to present to you online. It's not all about making all this money. For me, it's all a matter of making it convenient for myself and my lifestyle. Being a normal real estate agent didn't fit my lifestyle. And I probably say, and you know this because you guys see my profit numbers whenever it comes into commissions, I've done 2 listings.
Right.
Both my mom's house.
It's funny, we do have wholesalers that come to StepStone and say, hey, I want to have my license, I want it for comps, things like that, but I just wholesale. Is it okay for me to still join StepStone? Are you guys going to be okay with that? And I always tell them, yeah, of course, because I know for a fact you're going to find some deal and you're going to end up wholesaling it to one of my other agents. I'm going to do a flip and then it's going to list it and then I'm going to make money. So it's all good. The more deals we get this way, the better we We all are. In fact, that just happened with you. I know you just wholesaled the property that you'd never even seen before to one of our agents who right now is starting to flip on that. We'll save that for a future show and talk about how that whole deal plays out after it's all done playing out. But it is funny that you say that because I don't care. I think you bring a tremendous amount of value to StepStone. It's not just about the listings or the broker's fees. You've done a lot of classes for us. You've done masterminds for us. You've educated other agents about what you do. That is just as valuable, if not more valuable, than the commission split on a listing. So please keep continuing to go do your thing and do it your way. I want to talk a little bit about the market and just want to, if that has, obviously we're all experiencing this change in the market. We're experiencing high interest rates. It has certainly slowed retail listings down quite a bit. We're seeing months of inventory go up. As a wholesaler, how has that affected your business? Has it changed at all what you do? Has it made it better or worse?
So it kind of goes two ways. Because in one way, you sellers who are still coming down from the high of these ridiculously high prices that we've been dealing for the last couple of years. So you have a lot of sellers who still think their house is worth $1 million, even though it's only worth $50,000. And on the other side, you have investors freaking out, mostly newer investors. You have a lot of the newer investors trying to get in the market. They're like, I'm going to hold off. I'm not going to worry about this anymore because interest rates are going crazy. And it's like, you're an investor. Why are you worried about interest rates? So a lot of it comes down of educating the investors. And for me, I don't personally deal with a lot of newer investors. I'm actually timid to do that because when I was with the other wholesale company, they dealt with a lot of newer investors who are uneducated, and I don't even want to get into that. But I like to deal with seasoned investors who know the market. They know how to pull money out of a deal. And a lot of long players, people who know they're going to buy an asset today and going to cash flow it. Yeah, their cash flow for the first couple of years is going to suck, but they know in a year or two they're going to be able to refinance that thing back out at a lower interest rate when they do drop. So from my end, I don't see it have really decreased in my business because a lot of our lead flow, a lot of our deals actually come from relationships. And that's what I love about it, is because these are deals that are being handed over to us, and our negotiating is a lot easier on that end. And we could talk about it a little bit later, but on the back end, again, we're dealing with, for the most part, educated investors. And I'm being a little repetitive there. Yeah. And for the ones who are not very educated, the ones who are still timid because they see the market shift, it's just a matter of educating them, getting them connected with the right hard money lenders, getting them connected with the right private money lenders if need be, the right agents on the back end who know how to sell a property once that thing's been flipped. Because some of the investors themselves, they're not realtors, right? So that's why, again, being with a company like StepStone, we have agents in every major market. So it's easy for us to say, hey, look, after this thing's done, I'll get you connected with one of our agents over here, and they'll sell for you. When we know we had those connections. So it's all about educating the people.
Yeah, that's great. I don't understand why people would be, investors would be scared of a market going down. Isn't that what we've been waiting for? Exactly. This is our time. Exactly. And exactly what we mean by being market proof. I mostly see the complaints coming just from agent in every Facebook group that's particularly geared to just agents. They seem panicked. Yeah. And I see our agents being excited. Hey, it's finally here. Exactly. We can start to acquire property, make some money now. That's awesome. You have a license. Yeah. A lot of wholesalers out there are scared of having a license. So out of every 10 deals, how many deals do you think you lose because you have your license?
None.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Has it affected your business at all?
Nope. I've had my license since day one. So actually, I didn't even start wholesaling until I had my license in hand. And that was, you hear online, it's like, oh, do this without a license and whatnot. And I agree. You don't have to have a license to wholesale real estate, because in wholesale, you're becoming a principal interest in the contract, and all you're doing is assigning your principal interest. In the state of Texas, that doesn't affect you. In other states, I know they're cracking down in other states. I know like Illinois and I think Oklahoma, they just passed a few laws on that end, where you can only do 1 or 2 assignments a year, and that's where it does affect you. But in Texas, it doesn't at this time. I know that's something that Trek is looking into. And in all honesty, I'm happy for that, because with having my license, it for me shows to the seller or my relationship partners that we're working with, I know what I'm talking about for the most part. Because if I do something wrong, even though technically you want to get technical about it, my license has no means, but it's still that one more thing, or somebody say, hey, look, you're doing something wrong. I'm going to go report you, which someone did. And Angie, our awesome broker, squashed it because Trek reached out to Angie and me, and Angie jumped in, which I love about StepStone. Even though it's a deal that you guys had nothing to do with.
Right.
You guys weren't getting commission out of it. Angie had my back. And that's one thing that has just showed to me that StepStone it's perfect for an agent like me. But it shows that with having a license, it doesn't hinder my business. If anything, it increases my business. And in the long run, with these new laws that are potentially going to come into place, if you want to wholesale and you want to be a professional, just have your license. It costs me what? $200 a year, $300 a year for my MLS dues.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-doo. And there's a lot of software out there where I can get comps, and I don't have to have MLS access, but the MLS will still give me the best data.
I always found it gives you credibility with the seller.
Oh, it does.
And that goes a long way. And if you're a seller in a distressed situation, you got to be scared and you got to be guarded against what you could see as people preying on you or scams, and they don't know who they're talking to. And just the fact that you are licensed, you have to disclose in a correct way. You have to make it clear you're there to buy the house. You are investing. You are not there to represent them. You're there to buy the house. Exactly. But it does just give you a level of credibility that I think takes some of that fear away.
Exactly. Because again, they can look me up. They can go in there. They can look, Chris is he's a licensed Texas realtor. They can see that it's on my Facebook page as a realtor. So it just shows that there's a level of credibility versus, I could be calling from India. Who knows?
Yeah.
You have no idea who I am if I'm just calling somebody randomly. And for the most part, since a lot of the stuff that we do is virtual over the phone, that one little thing of having that license number, it just eases so many people. They just say, you're a licensed realtor. Okay.
You've done something that I've never done, and I know a lot of people are scared to do. I'm not sure I wouldn't be scared to do. I did most of my investing directly with sellers at a different time when there wasn't a realistic, financially feasible plan, and that is cold calling.
Yeah.
Just the cost of cold calling has gotten extremely low compared to what it used to be. Skip tracing is now a very cheap, that used to be a very expensive thing, making cold calling a very viable option to doing leads. So why are you not scared of it?
My background, before I got into real estate, I was in IT, right? So in IT, a majority of your job, even though you think it's about sitting behind a computer and running the matrix code, it's actually more of you're sitting behind a phone telling people who are begrudging and angry to turn their computer off and on again. So I had several years of experience dealing with high-level banking managers, telling them that why the software wasn't working, which is a fun thing to do, on the phone all day, every day. So when I got into real estate, I'm like, okay, I know I want to pull leads. I don't want to deal with keyword research and SEO, and I don't want to deal with pay-per-click ads. I sure as heck don't want to be dealing with direct mail and the exuberant cost of that with the
Very expensive. Yes.
With the hope that someone's going to call me back at some point, and I'm not going to run away from the police with bandit signs. I'm just not going to do it. Not to say I haven't done those things. I'm not going to say that yes or no. But I went back and I'm like, great, I don't mind being on the phone. It's not the funnest thing to do, but I'm going to be proactive. There's two ways of looking at marketing. You can either be proactive or reactive. Direct mail, bandit signs, pay-per-click ads, those are all reactive marketing strategies where I am waiting for someone to call me. I swear, I'm not diagnosed. I can't wait for that. I get stressed out if I'm waiting for somebody to call me. I want to call people on my time. I want to be proactive with my marketing. And if I can pick up the phone, make 1,000 cold calls a day and get a lead, I'd rather do that.
So somebody who's, that's just what I need to do. I need to pick up the phone, start cold calling. What advice could you give them?
Just keep at it. The biggest thing with cold calling, especially now with the way mobile carriers have changed a lot of their rules and whatnot, and you see it, like you pick up your phone, you get a spam likely. Right. That's such a big thing right now. Mobile carriers are really starting to really squash a lot of what's happening with cold calling, and that's okay. Again, regulations, I don't mind. I can work with them. Yeah. The biggest thing is you have to do a ton of calls. That's the first thing I had to say. Don't try to get a list of 5 people, call them and say, oops, this doesn't work. It's not going to work that way. You have to keep calling. Like I said, you got to make 1,000 calls a day, and that's 1,000 dials. I'm not saying you got to talk to 1,000 people, but you need to talk to a lot of people to make a deal.
If you make 1,000 calls, roughly how many people are you going to talk to?
So roughly you'll probably talk to around 30, 40 people a day. And that's the goal. You want to talk to about 30 to 40 homeowners a day to have any kind of real movement, right? And that's if you calling. And I know a lot of people, like the other tip I'd probably say is a lot of people, they'll say, look, I don't want to cold call. I'm just going to hire somebody. That's cool. Do that after you have made 1,000 conversations, not 1,000 calls. I want you to make 1,000 conversations first, because then you're going to know how to handle the calls. You're going to know what to expect. You're going to know your numbers. You'll be able to track your KPIs more effectively. And so when you hire somebody, you can train them more effectively. But so many people just want to hire it out the gate.
And you've done that. You've hired VAs to make these calls.
Yes.
Are you still using a VA to make some calls?
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a point where I had a few VAs that were just cold calling away, and I was happy as a clam. But with a VA, especially most people, they just go to the Philippines because they're the cheapest. Your call conversion ratios just go plummeting down to the ground because they don't understand our culture. They don't understand how we work. And those fantastic people. They really are. They're great workhorses, but I would never hire them for a phone position.
So this kind of gets back to you just want to be proactive. You just want to make those calls. You just want to make sure you're getting these leads.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you convert those by doing virtual wholesaling, basically, is what you're doing. So you can do these deals
Anywhere.
Do you typically stay around Texas, in Texas? Again, you're talking about something that I've never done. I'm always a person who sent mail, reacted to the call by getting an appointment, physically showing up to the property and meeting the seller, which, again, one of my favorite things to do, but certainly a different business strategy and different business plan to do it. How do you overcome issues with virtual wholesaling, like not being able to lay eyes on the property and not really understanding or knowing directly maybe all the repairs that need to be done? Or
Right.
how do you comp something in an area that's you're not on the MLS? How do you go about that?
So that's a fantastic question. And it's one that I get all the time, because when I first started in wholesale, it was just that, look, I'm in Fort Worth. I can only deal with Fort Worth houses. Stick to that, because I got to make sure I can drive to the houses. I got to make sure I can put eyeballs on the houses. And that worked okay. But I found it's like when I had to make sure I was only dealing with a small area, my pool of houses just shrunk. I can only still so many leads at any given time. And I had a lot of competition in that one little area that I'm battling against. So here I was working 15, almost 20 hours a day sometimes, doing calls, running out to houses, running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Maybe I look at 3 houses a day. If I was lucky, I could look at 3 houses a day, which meant I can only make 3 offers a day. And if I'm only making 3 offers a day, my ability to do a deal went straight plummeting down to the floor. It wasn't happening anymore. So what the turning point really was it was those hedge funds. And I had to bless them so much, because when they started buying, they opened my mind to one little thing, and it's telling me, look, we don't inspect until we have it under contract. And when I first had that, I was like, it still blew my mind. I'm like, I got to put eyes on it. That was my training. I got to put eyes on it. But when they said, look, we know the numbers. You can comp the house. Repairs, it's an average, right? Sometimes the repairs are going to be way easier. Sometimes they're going to be way harder. But for the most part, you can put it in 3 classifications. And that's going to give you a good ballpark, right? A good little ballpark. It's either going to be a cosmetic renovation where it's just paint and carpet and just basic stuff, a midway rehab where maybe it's paint, carpet, and maybe I got to fix the roof. And this is a full thing where we got to gut the place and make it a whole new house again, or knock it down and rebuild.
Right.
So when we put in those classifications, you can just calculate your basics down to a price per square foot of general renovations. And again, it's not 100% accurate by any means, but as a wholesaler, and I'm not saying this is something that I encourage, because it's not saying, hey, look, you're a wholesaler, just lock up whatever and just call it a day and just throw something in the wall and hope it sticks. Don't do that. You still got to do your math. You still got to do your research. But I can be about 90% accurate with a ballpark guess. If I have photos of a house, or if I have someone who can give me a basic rundown of when was the roof last replaced, have you seen any cracks in the walls, feel any shifting of the foundation, if it's an older home, has the plumbing been updated, has it not been updated, is it still running a original electrical wire? I just have good long conversations with these homeowners to get a good baseline. And if they don't know, say, I don't know, I've owned this house for 30 years and we've never done anything. Okay, automatically, we got to do everything to this house.
Right.
So I can guess to a certain degree. Or if they say, yeah, we just did a whole renovation 5 years ago. okay, we're probably not doing a deal on this house. This house is probably perfect, most likely. But the big thing is that I can guess down to about 90% accuracy. And if I'm close, if I'm not, I renegotiate.
It's funny. I don't think that's any different when you actually do go to the house. And I tell people all that all the time is you can't bring a contractor with you.
No.
They don't necessarily make the best salespeople in the world. You probably don't want them with you when you're trying to do a deal.
I've done that too.
Yeah, it doesn't work, does it?
No.
But the good news is when you're trying to lock something under contract, you don't need to know that it's going to cost $39,352.36, right? Somewhere between 35 and 45 is probably close enough. And if you can just get a ballpark just by doing a quick glance, and you're just doing the quick glance by listing rather than looking.
Yeah, exactly.
And just coming up with your best guess. And great thing about the Trek 1 to 4, which I always say is the single greatest contract ever written in the history of humankind.
I have to agree.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. Is that little contract inside the contract called the option period. Mm-hmm. So if you mess it up entirely, it's no big deal because you can always back out for no reason whatsoever. And
I woke up this morning and my nose is running. I got to bet. I'm sorry. We got to terminate.
That's it. Sky's blue today. Bummer.
Yeah. Here's my $100.
Exactly. So that's interesting. So you just get a feel for the repairs. How do you figure out what the RV is?
Yeah, so ARV, we run comps like anybody else. If it's in my local area, we use the MLS. At the moment, I'm only subscribed to one MLS. I have the flexibility if I want to. I could go sign up for the rest of them in the major markets. But one thing that we really started running into is I started picking up deals in secondary markets all over the state of Texas. So I'd be getting deals in some weird place like, oh man, I can't even think of the name of a city.
Harris.
Right now. Harris, Bowie, Bonham. There's so many different names out there of all these little towns. And so a lot of these major MLSs don't stretch there because the state of Texas has like 30 different MLSs.
It's ridiculous.
It's insane. So for me to be subscribed to every single one of those, I'd be broke.
Oh yeah. Tell me about it.
There's just no way. And I even had a deal in Waco, and Waco has like at least 2 different MLSs that they work with.
Yeah.
So a buddy of mine, actually, I went to a sales conference a few years ago in San Diego, and I met a good buddy of mine, Paul DePozo. He's with a company called PropStream. And this is before they really went. He came up to me and said, hey, Chris, I want to show you this really cool thing that we're about to introduce in about a month or two. And he showed me his tool called PropStream. And it gave, at the time, nationwide comps. So every single MLS in the entire nation, I could have access to their comps. And it's not live. Don't get me wrong. They're a few days old.
Right.
Like sometimes a property will sell. It takes them a few days to a week for the data to update. I'm okay with that. It's not like when I'm looking at the MLS, I'm looking at stuff that sold yesterday. Sometimes that helps, but it was okay. So I really fell in love with that software. And there's a lot of other tools out there. I know like Batch Leads and Propelio. There's a lot of tools out there that offer a similar thing. But PropStream really, I love their tool, the interface, the data they provided. So I just started really going ham with using that tool for all my comping. So I can go into an area, I can pull up a house, I can pull up a comp, and I can get comps of houses that sold. Get pictures of the houses. I can take a look at the mortgage deed that was recorded. I can see everything.
Wow.
And it started to be a point where I hardly even opened the MLS anymore because I had access in one interface across the entire state. And that actually helped us do a deal out in Oklahoma last year. So we flipped a house in Oklahoma, never looked at the house, never even knew anything about Oklahoma. And we did a deal out there because we had access to this one tool. But I can unpack the whole idea of never relying on one tool.
Right.
Because earlier this year, NAR put a legislation on those third-party tools that don't allow them to show MLS data anymore.
So how do you do it now?
So that's the tricky part. So they actually have MLS data again. These tools they do. But they're being a little sleuthy about it. They adjust the numbers slightly. So say if a house sold for $300,000, they'll say it sold for $300,260.
Gotcha.
So they adjust it slightly enough to where it's like, hey, we're not showing the actual sold price.
But good enough for comps. And again, we don't need to know that if you fix it, you do this, how would you know exactly what something's going to sell for, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to be pinpoint accurate.
Yeah. I always tell people, you're really bad at doing comps. And they get offended. But my point is that because nobody could be perfect at
No.
it. It's impossible. And so you just have to take your best guess. And there are many times that I would get something under contract and say, man, I don't know, I think I got this too high to the ARV. And I would go to wholesale and say, nobody's going to buy this. I'd have 10 offers the next day.
Yep.
And then the next time you get something under contract, you're like, man, I got a slam dunk, man. This one's going to sell in an hour, and you can't find anybody to buy it.
Yeah.
And it's because you just are terrible at doing comps. And it's just because somebody's going to see it different. And no matter what, you're going to be wrong in some sort of way. I don't think one time, even when I've done flips, has the price I ended up getting for the house been exactly to the dollar, the price I thought I was going to get.
You either got to go.
Less. Yeah,
exactly. Sometimes you maybe get 10 grand more. Sometimes you get 50 grand less.
You just have to be in the ballpark, right?
It's investing at the end of the day. And for me, if I comp a house, I look at a house of, okay, here, this is what my assumption. And I never tell anybody how much repairs are going to be, because how much you're going to rehab a house for and how much I'm going to rehab a house for are two totally different things. But I say, hey, look, this is what I'm assuming it's going to look like. Do your own numbers. You determine, does this house fit your criteria or not?
Yeah, you are way more tech savvy at this than I ever was. What do you use for your calls, for your cold calls? I know Mojo dialer is one. The call multiple lines at once kind of technology.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your favorite?
Well, that's the biggest thing. Like, you can cold call like a single line. Like, you just pick up your phone and dial.
Sure.
But you won't be able to get many dials out if you're just using one phone number. And plus, I don't want sellers calling me back on my personal cell phone number.
Right, yeah.
So I used Mojo for the longest. Mojo, in my opinion, is still bar none the best system. The only problem Mojo has is with the new laws coming out where numbers are getting spammed out. The way Mojo works is you have to go out and get a different phone number that they'll use as like masking. So when it calls out, it'll mask that number. So you're constantly having to go out and feed new numbers to it, like through CallRail or whatnot, and that just becomes a pain in the butt. I did move over to Batch Dialer. It's not my most favorite tool in the world, but it works. The thing I do like about Batch Dialer is they have driven the software more towards investors. So it is a more investor-friendly system where it will pull up a property after you connect with somebody and actually gives you property data from the tax records.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
It'll also give you kind of like their idea of what the ARV could be. It's aggregated data. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
So it's cool, but they also do what's called...
At least if you're speaking to somebody in an $80,000 house versus an $800,000. Yes. Even if it's 600 to a million or 40 to 120, what you're dealing with.
Exactly. But the thing I like about Batch Dialer versus some of the other ones is, for one, it has a built-in soft phone, so you don't have to be reliant on an actual phone. But with Mojo, like, I had to like dial into the bridge from my phone and call from my cell phone. They actually have a built-in soft phone in the browser, so you just put on a headset connected to your computer, and you call from the computer, right, from their web browser. Right. Also, they have a number reputation checker that checks every single night. It'll go through and check, okay, is your number flagged as spam?
Wow.
And if it is, it will kill that number off, and you can put a new number in automatically.
Okay.
So it just handles all that for you
Very
fluidly. Cool. So that's the thing I do like about their system. It's just still not my most favorite system.
Do you ever drop them voicemails or anything? Or
I tried doing the RVMs or ringless voicemails.
Yeah.
I tried doing. I like the concept because, like, way back in the day, I'd use the slide dial, so just slip the voicemail right in.
Yeah.
And I love that concept.
Yeah.
The problem it came down to is it still felt like something that was like pay-per-click marketing.
It's reactive.
Right, it's a reactive marketing. I put the voicemails out, but the thing is, ringless voicemail, they had a lot of legislation passed on that like really quick because people were getting so tired of that quick little, oh, my phone rang for half a second, and now I have a voicemail. So people were really hitting up lawyers hardcore on ringless voicemails, and I just stayed away from it. Same thing with text message marketing. I know it's hot. I know it's cheaper than cold calling, but again, there's just a lot of legal stuff around it. And for me, I'd much rather do things that are, if I can avoid legal issues, I'm going to do that. Yeah. It's just what it is.
So the numbers you never reach, they just fall off and they're just throwaway.
After a while, technically, yes, I know you guys.
And that's okay. It's a numbers game.
And I'm probably going to be beaten up here online. People are saying I'm an idiot because, I could probably go through and do like a text campaign first, try to reach them through text. If they don't answer text, then cold call them. Yeah. But at the same time, I'd rather not. Like I said, I do wholesaling because it's convenient to me in my life and what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to become a millionaire. Yeah. That could be wrong. But for me, if I can do something to where I can support the lifestyle that I love, spend time with my family, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
So many people get so caught up with doing bigger, better, higher, and they forget about their life.
Yeah, I had an agent call me not too long ago. It was still when the market was hot, right? And she said, Dan, I got all these. Actually, she probably really loved my advice now that I think about it. Because so she calls me and she said, hey, we've got a ton of rental properties. Me and my husband, we got a ton of rental properties. And I'm thinking about selling them all. Is that a stupid idea? I'm like, why are you wanting to sell them all? We really had this dream of buying this huge tract of land, like 20 acres or whatever. I can't remember specifically what they wanted to do with the land, but something where they could live on the land and do, I don't remember if it was other housing or Airbnbs or whatever, what it was. Just wanted to enjoy this life on this 20-acre ranch. And she's like, but I'm so worried that I'm going to sell them. And then 20 years from now, I'm going to look back and go, oh, look at all that money I missed out on. And I said to her, it sounds like that's what you got the money for. So what's the new money going to be for if you've passed up on your dream of what you do? Why don't you? Success is not how much money you have. Success is how much you enjoyed your life. And so we can't define success just by how much money you make. And so absolutely, if it's about creating a certain lifestyle, if it's about being able to travel, if it's about buying this big piece of land. And I say now, she probably is like really happy I gave her this advice because she probably sold them all right before everything turned, right?
Right, exactly.
And so she
at the height
sold
of the market.
at the height of the market. But I preach that to our agents. Don't define success as money. This is a means to an end, not the end. Nobody puts the number of dollars they have in their bank account on their tombstone.
No, some people probably do.
Some people probably do. Can you imagine? He's giving the eulogy now. Dan Francis, he died. He had $2.436 million in the bank. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
No, they talk about Dan touched these people and he knew them and he made us laugh and we got to spend so much time with him. And Dan was one hell of a golfer, everybody, just so you know.
I feel like you're helping me prepare your speech right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of writing it for you.
Right. Is there something we need to be aware of?
Don't try to get the number. Try to get that. I
just
think it is a good exercise to think about what's your funeral going to be like. It is, because are people going to be there? How many people are going to be there? You don't necessarily need to be the most popular, but are the people you really care about going to be there? And what are they going to say about you? And I think that, to me, is what defines success. If people get up there and they want to be at your funeral and they come and they talk about what a great person you were and how you touched their lives, man, that's way more important to me than $1 billion in the bank.
No, exactly. Well, you got to think about it. There's two ways. A, you're not going to take that money with you to the grave. And then so many people, they get so caught up in their mind of, hey, look, I got to stack all this money in my account. I got millions of dollars sitting in there, but I'm living on top ramen. Why? Why are you working so hard and not giving yourself any benefit? Okay, yeah, we could be afraid of the future and be like, okay, yeah, look, crap can happen. I got to have my reserves. But what is that money doing just sitting there? Do something with it. Live your life. We are only given a short period of time in this world.
Yep.
And we've all lost people. And every time we lose somebody, it's always that thing that tells us, man, I got to do something more because this time is fleeting.
Yeah.
And if I'm just sitting at home on my laptop and just got to get the next deal, got to stack more money into my account, and I'm not spending any time with my kids, I'm not traveling this world, exploring this life, what am I really doing?
I've had great friends that I've played golf with in the past, and all of a sudden they get busy and they're making money. An insurance agent, one of our agents, actually, I'm thinking of, won't name him by name. You know who you are. Because I'll say, come play golf. Oh, I'm into this project. Oh, I haven't been able to play. I always tell them, nobody is laying on their deathbed and says, dang, I wish I'd played less golf. Nobody ever says that.
No, it depends. But, yeah.
I guess if they really hate golf.
My wife would say that. I wish I played less golf.
She'd say, I wish Chris played less golf. My point is, God, you can work yourself to death, and it's like you say, for what? If you're not using that as a means to enjoy your life, you're missing out.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. 1,000%.
We're just rapping. Our producer, Josh, has something he wants to say.
I may have missed it. I noticed maybe a couple things we can talk about. Networking, now, what it would be like, functions, where you're at, social renovation, creative social media purposes, and also stories that are topical recently with dealing with specific situations
Yeah.
Do you have like what would be really good is, do you have just an example of like the craziest cold call you ever did?
Oh gosh.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. So with cold calling, you're going to have successful calls and you're going to have weird calls and you're going to have really crappy calls. This is an example of a really weird call. I called up this lady and she was talking to her about this house and she was all into it. Like she was talking to me about the house and everything. And she's like, yeah, we really just want to sell because we're so tired of our neighbors. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that. I get that. Yeah. Every time we do a goat sacrifice in our backyard, they really just, they think we're killing kids. And she had me go. I was legit, for one, I'm like, I'm glad I don't see houses because this sounds like it's going to be a good deal. She had me going. And we went through the whole thing. I'm just like, dude, just do the deal, get it over with, whatever. She didn't end up owning the house. Like it wasn't even her house. It was a wrong number.
Just messing with you.
She was messing with me. So that's one thing you do find with cold calling is you got to vet, right? You got to vet to make sure, are you really the owner of the house? Because people will mess with you.
They will.
They simply will.
And you never, that's good. I like meeting the sellers, but I'm sure it's the same on the call is you don't know what they're going to say.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really entertaining. I had this lady and went through the whole spiel, thought we had a really good rapport going. And so it's time to talk about the price of the home. What's the cash value of your home? And this is when I'd been doing this for 10 years at least. And I gave her, laid it out. This is the cash value of the home. This is what we could pay for it. And she just looked at me and she goes, "You don't know much about real estate, do you?" I couldn't know. I just started laughing. I'm like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. But
Right.
It's always fun. It's always fun.
Yeah, because people will balk back at you because if you give them numbers that they don't like, they think you're the idiot.
Yep.
It's just no way around it. That's awesome.
Yep. It's fun.
So we have 10 minutes still.
Wow.
Anything around networking that you want to add in that has helped you, whether it's StepStone?
Yeah. So as far as networking goes, wholesaling, and I think this is where people get it wrong. Wholesaling is not about real estate. And I think that's what is very misunderstood. Wholesaling is about marketing and networking. So again, when I first got started, I was like, okay, I got to learn everything about real estate. I got to understand every little in and out. And that's what took me 5 years until I did my first deal because I had to figure it all out. But it wasn't until I started going to networking events. I started meeting with people and realizing that this business is about networking and marketing. I'm a marketer, not about real estate. I'm a marketer. So I started going to networking events and I would go, I'd probably go to like 3 a week. Like I would try to find any networking event I could, shake every little hand I could. And they're great. They're fantastic. I'm more picky about the networking events I go to nowadays because there's just so much garbage out there. But the biggest thing about networking is it's not about when you run into somebody, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. Here, flashy me. Let me just tell you all my great story about who I am. When you're meeting people at networking events, you need to give value to them. What value are you going to offer to this person you're going to meet? And then follow up with those people. That's the huge thing, but you have to be networking left and right.
I would imagine follow-up's important in cold calling too.
Yeah,
Follow-up
exactly.
seems to be important in any aspect.
Right.
But yeah.
But too many people don't do it.
Yeah.
They go there, they get the stack of business cards and never call anybody. But yeah, just follow up with people, networking, shake hands, kiss babies, all that fun stuff. But you got to be present. And I think that's one thing I love about the day and age that we live in now is going back to virtual wholesaling is it doesn't matter where you live anymore. You can be anywhere in the world and be very successful in real estate or any business because of the internet. And we have great social media channels. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, TikTok if you like doing funny dances. But we have all these mediums out there nowadays where you can connect and meet with anybody in the world. And I've made some high-level connections with other investors and wholesalers across the country that I've never met in person, all because of social media. I'm not the greatest person on social media. I'm trying to be better with it. But I will say majority of the time I get on social media and I start connecting with people, I do deals with them. Whether it's other wholesalers or investors or agents, they'll send me deals and it's free. It takes just a matter of time for me to go in there, make some posts and add value. Versus going, oh, hey, look, I'm out here doing all this great stuff. I just closed $1 million deal. Whoop-de-doo. I go out there and I go into social media groups and I just try to add as much value as I possibly can.
Yeah, I think I can give great examples. I have several of our agents and our lead recruiter are people that I met at an event you and I both attended. One of the greatest networking events that I've been to. I wish they would do it again, which was Wholesaling. Do you remember that?
I loved Wholesaling.
It was such a great event
Yeah.
and such great speakers but they really helped facilitate networking there too. So they did a lot of great activities to encourage networking and unfortunately, it seems like events are either all education or all networking now, and that's just such a good mix and it's just such a great
It was fantastic.
event. But yeah, I met a recruiter, Josh Esparza, at that event.
Oh, it's cool. Josh is an awesome guy.
Yeah, he is an awesome
Yeah.
guy, and he's good at networking. I think I always tell my agents, you got to network, but you can't just say, yeah, I'm going to network. You have to do it and purposefully.
Right.
You have to plan the event you're going to go to and then commit yourself and actually go to them.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to say, oh, I'll go to one of those soon. And then it just never happens, right?
Never happens.
Oh, but I got to do this that night. I got to do this night. If it's on your calendar and it's planned, then when other things come up, I can't go to that. I have my networking event. And you have to make it a very important part of your business. And then you have to go there with a purpose. And what I mean by that is not to tell everybody, what you do. You're going to bore them.
Because everybody does the same thing.
Everybody does the same thing.
Yeah, it drives me nuts every time I go to a networking event. I talk to somebody. Oh, hey, yeah. Hey, my name's Chris. Your name? Oh, yeah, I'm Dan. Oh, what do you do? I buy houses. Okay, cool.
Yeah, me too.
So do the rest of us. What else you do?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a hustler.
Yeah.
I go out there, I hustle. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to go grab a drink from the bar. Catch you later.
It becomes a bragging event.
Yeah.
Now, I think you go there to make real life connections, and you do that by finding things in common with people that were in real estate.
Yeah.
And so if you can do that and say, I'm going to make 5 good connections at this networking meeting, and I'm not going to leave until I have those 5 good connections, go there with a plan.
You got to treat it like business. And I think so many people don't treat real estate or the industry we're in as a business. They treat it like a hobby. Okay, yeah, if I make time for it or if this happens. No, I treat it like I'm clocking in. Yeah. Okay, I'm scheduled on shift. I got to go.
We're going to do one of those class/networking events. We'd certainly make networking a huge part of our all-day CE class. Great for realtors who just don't know much about this world that we're in, or anybody who's just getting started in this world. Perfect class for them. Although we have experienced people come just for those nuggets you get out of it, right? And for the networking you get out of it. It is the A to Z of everything involving real estate investing. So every exit strategy, how do you find deals to what do you do when you find somebody who's willing to sell, and then how do you turn that into money? An all-day event followed by a happy hour. Just great networking time. We're going to do that again in March in Austin. Again, you can find that on StepStoneTexas.com. But I hope people will take this as a great opportunity to just not only learn but to network and meet other people. If you're going to do real estate investing and be successful at it, you need to surround yourself with other people doing real estate investing successfully. So this is a great opportunity to do that.
100% agree. Don't try to do real estate alone. Being an island is not the way to be.
It's not the path to success by any means.
No, and that's why I love stuff like this and like the networking events or whatnot. It's the community of investors. It's about sharing. No one's doing anything specific that is like secret sauce, right? And everybody just thinks that they have to keep their stuff secret, keep it to themselves. The more you share, the more you do. And I found the more I share, the more I help other people, the larger my business grows.
100%. Thank you for saying that. That's great. Yeah, that was awesome. Want to thank you for doing this today. I think that's just a ton of good advice. And I always want to leave you with an opportunity. Number one, if anybody wants to reach you, how do they reach you? If they want to follow you, do you have any social media or just a website, or just give me a call, or how to, if somebody wanted to chat with you and talk to you, how would they do that?
Yeah. So I have a few ways you can reach out to me. So my Facebook is just Christopher Gibbins. Just search me up on there. You want to look for the bald bearded guy. Yeah, not the most attractive thing on there, but I had the nice, attractive wife next to me in the photo. If you want some eye candy there, that's how you're going to find me. But yeah, just find me on Facebook. You can follow me there. I set up a new email address for all kind of social communication. It's just social@chrisgibbons.com.
That's great. And then last thing, if you could just leave people with a tip. I feel like a lot of people want to do this, they struggle to get started, or they get started and there's something that just holds them back from being successful. You're successful. Tell us that something that, a takeaway that to help them become more like
I don't know if you want to be more like me. Like I said, the bald bearded. So if you want to lose your hair,
shave your head and grow a beard.
The funny thing, and this is not the tip that by any means, but the funny thing is I did not start seeing any kind of traction until I grew the beard and lost the hair. I don't know what it is, but no, the biggest tip that I would give, and this has been regurgitated online, I'm going to regurgitate it, is you just need to take a lot of massive action. Don't worry about being perfect. Don't worry about messing things up. Just take action. That's why I do cold calling. It's an actionable thing that I can track and measure, but it's just getting on the phone and taking serious level of action and screw things up. It's okay to make a mistake. Like you said, if you make a mistake on the numbers, just cancel the contract. Am I saying just get a bunch of contracts and cancel them? No, don't do that. But mess things up. Be willing to do that. There's a ton of connections out there on Facebook. You got StepStone Realty. I know you're always available to talk to people. I'm always available too. May not be able to respond immediately, but reach out to people who are in the business. We're here to help because the industry has a bad rap. So reach out to people online. Reach out to the people who are doing the business. And the people who are doing the business right are going to be willing to help you. They just simply were. But just take massive, serious action and don't worry about messing up.
That's so well put. Great way to end it. Chris, again, thank you so much for doing this today.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Again, I'm Dan Francis. This is MarketProof. We call it that because we really do believe if you have all the investor tools and your license, there's no situation where you can meet a seller where you don't have a solution, and that makes you market proof.